Lumen point. Let's begin the breakdown. You've heard it a million times, right? Plant a tree, save the planet. It's such a simple, feel-good idea, but is it really the whole story? Well, today we're going to dig into the real science of reforestation, and we'll uncover both its incredible potential and its surprising complexities. So, let's dive in.
Okay, so to really get a handle on the power of trees, we need to look at a true heavyweight champion of carbon capture. Let's kick things off with a single, just jaw-dropping example of what nature can do.
All right, look at this number, 1,400 tons. Let that sink in for a second. To give you some perspective, that's about the weight of 10 blue whales. And all of that, that's the amount of carbon a single living thing has managed to pull out of our atmosphere.
And this is it. Meet General Sherman. It's a giant sequoia, the largest living tree on Earth. And over its incredible 2,500-year life, it's been quietly pulling all that carbon out of our atmosphere and locking it away. A genuine carbon-storing titan.
But here's where it gets, well, kind of crazy. Think about it. Everything that ancient giant did over 2.5 millennia, we, as in humanity, we undo that in just 60 seconds, every single minute. That just puts the scale of our challenge into a whole new light, doesn't it?
So that really drives home why we need to understand how trees pull off this magic trick. How do they become these incredible carbon vaults? Well, the answer is a process you definitely learned about back in science class, but you might not appreciate just how powerful it really is.
It all boils down to one word, photosynthesis. I mean, this is basically the engine that powers life on our planet. Plants take sunlight, water, and the CO2 we all breathe out, and they turn it into two amazing things, the oxygen we can't live without, and the fuel they need to grow. Let's break it down real simple. Step 1, the tree sucks in CO2. Step 2, sunlight gives it the power to work its magic. Step 3, it breathes out oxygen for us. And step 4, and this is the big one for us, it locks away a huge chunk of that carbon as wood. It is literally building itself out of thin air. How cool is that? Okay, so it's a two-way street. Trees also breathe out a little, just like us. It's called respiration. They use up some energy and release a bit of CO2. But, and this is the key takeaway, they store way more carbon than they release. It's not even close. That's what makes them net carbon sinks. Or, these amazing carbon vaults.
All right, so if one tree is a vault, what happens when you have, say, 1 trillion of them? Yeah, now we're talking about a scale that is just breathtaking. So this leads to the big question, right? We know trees are awesome at this, but just how much space do we actually have to plant new ones? Like, how much of the Earth could we cover in new forests without getting in the way of our cities and farms?
Well, back in 2019, a huge study came out that tried to answer that. And the number they landed on was mind-blowing. They figured out we have enough land. We're talking almost 1 billion hectares to plant an extra 1.2 trillion trees. Okay, so a number that big, it definitely made waves. It got a lot of scientists talking and doing more research. And that's how science works, right? It's all about refining our understanding. So now the focus isn't so much on the exact number of trees, but more on how much carbon we could capture. And even the newer, more conservative numbers are still incredible. Somewhere between 100 and 200 billion tons of carbon.
So what does a number like that even mean? Let me put it this way. That's enough to wipe out over 1/6 of all the carbon emissions humanity has ever pumped into the atmosphere. Look, it's not a magic fix, not a silver bullet, but wow, that's a huge piece of the puzzle.
The potential is massive, no doubt about it. But before we all run out and buy a shovel, we gotta hit pause. Because turning that potential into reality, yeah, that's where things get complicated. A lot more complicated.
And this is where we hit the really tough questions. Seriously, where do you even begin? The simple idea of let's plant trees smacks right into the messy, complicated real world of ecosystems, money, and, well, people.
See, the thing is, the goal can't just be plant trees. It has to be restore an ecosystem. And that means you've got to use the right trees, native ones. Because if you just plant rows of one single type, you can actually do more harm than good. You have to think about the unintended consequences. And hey, is us jumping in always the best idea? And maybe most importantly, none of this matters if we plant them and then our grandkids don't protect them.
So after all that, you might be thinking, great, so it's impossible? Is it a lost cause? No, not at all. Not even close. It just means we need to be smart about it.
We need a more thoughtful, balanced plan.
And this leads us to maybe the single most important lesson here. Because it's so incredibly hard to rebuild an ecosystem from scratch, it makes protecting the ones we already have that much more important. Job number 1, the most urgent, most effective thing we can do right now is to protect our existing mature forests, period.
But that doesn't mean we stop trying to restore what we've lost. There's still so much hope. I love how the source material for this put it. It said that if we get it right, if we do this the smart way, then maybe, just maybe, these new trees will have enough time to grow into those carbon-carrying titans we talked about.
So, let's go back to our big question. Can trees save the planet? The honest answer? Not by themselves. Nope. We absolutely have to slash our emissions first. That's non-negotiable. But they are an incredibly powerful partner in this fight. Which leaves us with a final thought. This isn't a choice between one or the other. The real challenge for us, for all of us, is to do both. To protect the ancient forests we have with everything we've got, and to thoughtfully help new ones start that long, slow journey to becoming the titans of the future.
Fuel your curiosity. Subscribe for the explanation. Stay for the knowledge.